This is hashtag Surviving Alzheimer's, a caregiver's podcast based on the book Surviving Alzheimer's with friends, Facebook, and a really big glass of wine. I'm Dana Steele, and I lost my mom, Fran Nicholson, to Alzheimer's. Now I share stories from other caregivers and the experts who help us through this crazy journey. This podcast is brought to you in part by the book Surviving Alzheimer's with friends, Facebook, and a really big glass of wine. When Mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, I posted it on Facebook. What started as a way to let friends and family know Mom had Alzheimer's turned into a support system for me, and from that turned into a support system and a community. The first half of the book is the Facebook post, and that's to give people a sense of you're not alone. There's no right, there's no wrong. It's okay to laugh at inappropriate things. It's okay to cry. It's okay to say bad words, drink wine, and throw things. The other half of the book is very important resources for caregivers. The one thing I want you to take away is you never know. Love your family. Love everyone. Take every adventure. Do everything, but also make sure you have everything ready to go and you're organized in the background so that when all is said and done, you have lived today. I wish I had known. And if I wish I had known, I think there's other people that wish they could know what's coming next. Surviving Alzheimer's with friends, Facebook, and a really big glass of wine is available at Amazon in paperback and Kindle versions. And now, back to the podcast, Surviving Alzheimer's with Dana Steele. Welcome back for another episode of hashtag Surviving Alzheimer's, where not only do I talk to experts, but I also talk to the true experts, caregivers, previous caregivers and current caregivers. And joining me on the podcast today is Sherea Cary. Hey, Sherea, how are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. This caregiver journey that I, of course, am on the other side of now is not something I expected to be talking about all these years later. But you know what? It is something we have to talk about. And tell me where you are in the journey right now.
Well, I was first a caregiver for my father, who was a cancer patient. He has since passed on, and I'm now a caregiver for my mother, who was initially diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment. And then during the COVID and the shutdown, it has progressed and become a little bit more into moderate dementia. And so I care for her each day. And I also work. Last year, I went back to work. So, and I'm blessed to have a job where I have flexibility, and I only go into the office 2 days a week. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I work from home.
And when you do go into the office, where is your mom in this journey right now? Is she at a point where it's early enough she can still be left alone?
No, I don't leave her at home. She is participating in a community center for dementia patients. So what I do is I get up in the morning, help her get dressed, and then I drop her off. I go on to the office, work, and then I leave early enough to pick her up. It's kind of like it's adult daycare.
That's exactly what it is. And they didn't really have anything like that when my mom was, before we even knew she had a problem. She was caring for my dad, and it was really taking its toll on her because there was nowhere we could put dad, and he couldn't be left alone. How did you find this place, or did you find that there's now a choice of these places?
The way I found the place, I think I was just talking to a friend who had worked with a local group here, the neighborhood centers, and she had talked about how they had a spot, they had a place for people who were suffering from cognitive difficulties. And then I had some other friends I did volunteer work with who had spoke of another, local place. And I checked into it, and found out they had a spot, and I registered her for it. Before she was able to go there, I was working some contract work, and let me tell you, the hardest 15 minutes was when I would get off from work, or 20 minutes, I get off from work, I'd call her. I'm talking to her, but I don't know what she's talking about. And I'm just trying to get home to make sure that everything is fine.
Yeah, because it
So
was,
that was so difficult.
yeah, you get the crisis, or they're trying to tell you something horrible has happened, and, or to them, it's horrible. I would get to my mom and she would go, "Oh, everything's fine." I would have panicked all the way there. And again, because you're in this position where, first of all, I didn't know she had any sort of cognitive decline. I just thought she was being dingy. And then when we did get the diagnosis, even then, it was, you don't know what's real, what's not real. Is it really an emergency? Is it not an emergency? But it is to them. So you kind of have to live in their world, and it's urgent until you get there and find out it's not. What were some of you say you started with mild cognitive impairment, um, and then it's moved into dementia. Now, dementia, the way I explain it to people, is sort of like an umbrella. And under that umbrella are all the different dementias: Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, Lewy body, frontal lobe, vascular dementia. Um, do you know which particular dementia she has at this point?
No, I don't.
Okay.
What I know is that it's not good to for us to leave her alone. I also know that sometimes she will be talking to me and I can't understand what she's talking about, or she picks up in the middle of a conversation. And then when I ask, okay, so tell me about this, she's not able to necessarily tell me what's happening. So there's a communication problem.
What were some of the first things that started to concern you, if you can look back and think about those?
Hmm. Well, I remember us traveling, going on a trip. We went to DC, and I remember my sister talking to me about how my mom was up in the hotel room and she was upset because she felt that she thought she had my phone and she had lost it. And my sister told her, "No, you have not had Sherea's phone. She would never let you have her phone. So, no." And so that was an issue. And I think my mom was thinking the remote control was a telephone.
Wow.
So, and that's something that I learned from going to a caregiver class, that sometimes they have problems with technology and that they will mistake things like the remote control for a telephone.
There's so many things we can look back now that you don't know at the time, and you will do this. I will tell you right now, years from now, you'll think of something, or somebody will say, "Remember that time mom did blah, blah, blah?" And you'll go, "Oh my God, it was starting then." It was starting then. And mom's was, we made the mistake of giving her the gift of email. Oh my God, that was the gift that kept on giving every day, because she would say, "Oh, the grandkids came over here and changed my computer," or, "Oh," it was like constantly trying to explain to her. So yeah, technology, it's a anything that's relatively new to someone with dementia, say the last few months, last year, you lose that short-term memory first. You still have quite a few memories long term. And for your mom, and especially for my mom, long term did not include a cell phone and a television remote and streaming or whatever. So you have to remember, they're not going to remember these things. um and saying the word remember so much, how are you doing on learning not to say, "I told you, remember, we did too do that"? How are you doing with that?
Well, I'm doing as best I can. You remember not to say remember this. And so you just kind of work out a new vocabulary. You just go, okay, well, let's try this. Or may can you help me with this? That's the other thing. When there's issues of not wanting to cooperate, I will say, okay, help me with this. Because what I found is that many of the people with dementia want to help. They really want to help. And so if you can get them involved in helping you with something, then that seems to work things better. I remember my mom used to do a lot of housework around the house. I don't have her do a lot of it now. But there are times when I have said, okay, can you help me with this? And I'll give her a simple task like sweeping the floor or something like that. So
I
you
there's
you
a
just
there's a
learn
young
a new
woman I follow.
vocabulary.
Yeah, there's a young woman I follow on TikTok, and I cannot remember her name right now, but she's had some great, we call it redirection.
Yes.
And she's, and yes, they do want to help. You know, I tried to my mom wanted to help in the kitchen, and that was becoming a problem with the stove, sharp knives, that sort of thing. So I had to
Hmm.
find something else for her to do. Again, things I learned in hindsight, things I wish I had known. These are some of the best things that I've found is constantly have a basket of towels, whether it's hand towels. Large bath towels are a little bit cumbersome sometimes, but hand towels and especially kitchen towels. So go to the dollar store and get you a ton of kitchen towels, keep them in a laundry basket and say, hey, you know, I really don't need help with this right now, but could you help me fold these kitchen towels? And it is and you can put a bunch of towels in there. Another one was now if maybe for your job, because it could be a short-term memory. Maybe she doesn't remember what you do, but a bunch of pencils and a pencil sharpener and say, I need all these pencils for a meeting I'm doing tomorrow for my team. Can you sharpen these for me? Because with just a standard pencil sharpener, it's they're not going to hurt themselves. And then
Right.
another one, I see you wear glasses, I wear glasses. Go to the dollar store and get 20 pairs of reading glasses and some cleaning cloths and say, you know what? I just gathered up all my reading glasses all over the house and out of the car and out of my purse, and I've got to go do something for work real quick. Can you clean these glasses for me? And it's a very slow but easy and methodical job. So those are just some of the three redirections I have found, um, that I think would have worked great with my mom. What have you
Well,
found to be the hardest part of this journey
um,
now? Let's say now.
the hardest part now is remembering that everything is at like half speed. You're used to having your life and you're doing things, and life right now in other people's world is very fast. Everything is moving quickly. But in my world, everything is very slow, slow and methodical, and very calm. Your voice needs to always be calm. So, what I find is making sure I have enough time not to be in a rush, because being in a rush doesn't help anything. There's no reasoning with being in a rush. They don't get that we got to go, we got to do stuff. So, the hardest thing I've had to learn how to do is make sure and build in enough time to be able to get to the places that we have to go and do the things that we have to do. So, like in the mornings, I never get to work before 10:30, 10:45. And I'm so blessed to have an employer who understands. And so I will go in to wake my mother up in the morning, and I'll go in and tell her, okay, we got to get up. And then I say, now I'm going to go do a couple of things and I'm going to come back and I'm going to get you. And she goes, okay. And so even when I go back, she's she's like, okay, I got to get up. So we get up and we count down the day. So, like today is Wednesday. She has one more day at the activity center. And then on Friday, she's off. I work from home on Friday. So she's here with me then. And Friday is normally go to the hairdresser day or something like that. And so it, you just have to learn to do things slow. And for people who are kind of on task or always kind of on a list trying to get things done, that can be difficult. But I've learned to just build in more time. If we've got to be at the hairdresser at 1 o'clock, then I think we got to get up and start moving at 10:30. Now you normally wouldn't think you'd have to do all that, but to be able to get dressed and to have some time, to be able to have time for some breakfast and all of those other things that are necessary, you have to build in the time.
Oh, I wish I had had that knowledge because I am very much a making lists, go get her, got to do it, got to do it, got to do it. I get up at 5 and I go and I go and I go and I go. And I would get so frustrated with her. I would get so frustrated. It took me a long, long time to learn to just, my frustration was just going to make it worse. She was going to dig in her heels like a toddler if she even understood. And, time time means nothing, nothing
Right.
to them. How has this changed you so far, Sharia? Because it does change you, and I didn't expect that either.
Well, um, it has changed how I thought this part of my life would be. I went back to graduate school a few years ago, and I felt that once I finished graduate school, I would go out and maybe change careers. And I've just had to have a new normal. And one of the things that me and my sister and my brother are doing is we are making new memories. Our memories are different things. And my mom is very ambulatory, so she's able to get around and do things. So we take her with us everywhere. We travel during COVID when they start letting people cruise again. We took her on cruises and we did things. And sometimes I'll talk to her about it and I'll tell her those things that she's done. And she's like, really? I say, I have the pictures. Hold on, let me show you the video. And so I'll show her the pictures. But I've just had to look at what's going to be the new normal while I'm caring for her.
And that's really nice because these memories that you're making are not for her. They are for you, and you are going to love that you have the pictures. You're going to love that you have the video. I so wish I had more video. I wish I had asked her more questions and talked to her more, that we had done something like that. That's a great realization on your part, is to make these new memories. What, looking forward, looking ahead, how are you preparing? What are you reading? What are you doing? Who are you talking to? When you can't take her these places, do you have questions? How can I help, being this unintended expert on way on the other side of this, having learned so much?
Well, what I'm doing now is living in the present. It's so important to be present as to what's going on. I'm not necessarily looking too much at what's going to happen, what may happen in the future, but I just want to be present and enjoy the time that we have and be thankful for the condition of her health. She's able to get around. We're not having any problems with that. We're having a little problem, few problems with eating here lately. And I have a sister who is awesome. What she does is she supports me by cooking meals and bringing them over so that I don't have to worry about when I come in the evening from working, worrying about what we're going to eat. And so that is something. So, what I would say to people is if you have folks in your family who want to help you with this caregiving, and if they have special skills or gifts, let them do that thing. My sister is a great cook and she's really good at meal prep, and she can put some things together and she'll have food for the entire week. Or she'll have ideas for, here, this is what we can do. So I think it's important to let people help you and to live in the present and appreciate what's going on now.
Speaking of eating and preparing meals, I saw another interesting video the other day. Again, you're constantly learning something new, and that is, people with dementia don't have a lot of, their contrast starts to go. So you may want to get some colorful plastic dishes. You don't want any food that blends in with the color of the plate
Mm-hmm.
because they can't see it. They can't distinguish between the food and the plate. And a lot of dementia patients forget they've eaten 30 minutes later and then they want to eat again. So some people have problems with not eating enough. And then others have they eat too much. So the recommendation on that was just to leave the dishes out, and that helps them remember they have eaten.
Hmm.
Being a neat freak, that would drive me over the edge to leave the dishes out. But again, you lead a new normal. Well, I just love that you are sharing your story with me. Um, what else have you learned? Anything, any words that as we wrap this up, what would you say to someone who is either concerned their loved one um, is having some memory loss, some cognitive issues, dementia, or somebody who's just starting this journey who is scared and worried and we gain this unintended wisdom that we never knew we would have to have. What would you say to somebody starting this journey?
I think it's important to have a plan. I think it's important to communicate with family members and with the person who you are caring for. Um, and it's important when you have this plan to have some wiggle room in the plan where it's not ironclad, where if there's some things that don't work in your program or in your plan, that you're able to switch that out. A prime example, on yesterday my mom wasn't interested in eating. We had some food prepared and she just wasn't. And so one of the things is that we have some Ensure, some of the chocolate flavored. And when I noticed she wasn't eating and I'd encourage her to eat and she wasn't, I just took that plate away and just got the Ensure and a straw. It's like a chocolate shake. She was happy. So it's just about being able to um, move things around when necessary. And what I would also say is that everybody's journey is different. What I found is that at the activity center that my mom attends, sometimes they have caregiver events, and we're all there and we're talking about the situation, but it's just everyone's is a little different. So be prepared that there's no straight line on how this works. There's differences in everybody's needs and what works for them.
Hashtag Surviving Alzheimer's is produced by JFA Inc. and Blue Squirrel Productions, copyright 2024. Executive producer, Dana Steele. Original music written and performed by Calvin Adams. The book, Surviving Alzheimer's, with Friends, Facebook, and a really big glass of wine, is available in paperback and Kindle on Amazon.com. For more information, visit thewomaninthemirrorplay.com.